Episode 143 of the podcast. This week we're talking about those spoiled dogs. What does that mean and what can we do? Find out this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. If you work with dogs, you've had a few times when you said, "This dog is so spoiled." But what does that mean? I'm going to start for anyone who doesn't know the term. We're going to start with some definitions, even though I know some of you find definitions to be pretty boring. But we're going to start with some definitions. The definition is someone who is harmed in character by being treated too leniently or indulgently. They actually give the example, he acts like a spoiled brat. Very anthropomorphic when we're talking about dogs, but we're going to go with it. So, down the rabbit hole, there are a couple words that we need to define there too. Lenient, what does that really mean? Another definition, but lenient means permissive, merciful, or tolerant. And what about indulgent? What does that one mean? That's the last definition, honest. I'm not going to spend all day doing definitions. But what does that one mean? Indulgent. Having or indicating a tendency to be overly generous or too lenient with someone, and they gave the example indulgent parents. So what does this look like in dogs? Let's think about it when we're looking at some of the dog problems that we see. Many of our owners have some training issues, and for some it's getting up and letting the dog out every single time the dog asks. And that seems like it wouldn't be a problem, except that this dog is asking all the time. It might be giving a snack every single time the dog begs. "Oh, honey, you want a cookie? I'll get you a cookie. Come on, let's go get a cookie." It's giving in to every request. And on the surface, that probably doesn't sound that bad. But some of these dogs simply haven't learned any patience. Interesting. We hadn't really thought about that. And we're seeing that more with these COVID dogs because everyone was home. So, dog says, "Hey, I'd like to take a chance to go outside." And the owner's like, "Hey, I'd like a break from my computer too. Let's do that." A lot of anthropomorphism in this one today. Sorry. But, the dogs ask for a snack and the owner's like, "Yeah, okay." They haven't learned how to be patient. All right, these dogs don't know how to wait, and they don't really have any experience coping with just a little bit of disappointment. They haven't learned any patience. They aren't learning any self-control. No, the dog that barks at owners, and the owners do whatever it was they wanted them to do because they can't stand the barking, right? We hear that one a lot too. And those dogs can be super noisy while we're in the grooming shop. While they're waiting for their turn. What? What is waiting? What is this thing that waiting is? I don't have to wait for anything. They can be the ones who bark during the whole grooming. I think that most groomers have seen this. Most vets have seen this, that there's a dog that's just like, "No, I'm going to bark the whole time. This isn't what I want to be doing. I'm going to bark until you change." This sort of behavior, for barking, for instance, may start out as just request barking. It may start out as, "Hey, hey, hey, where'd my mom go?" Or, "Hey, stop. I don't want you to do that." Or, "I want to get out of this crate." But when they don't have the skills to handle waiting, they can become very stressed out about it because now they are barking and they're getting themselves worked up and imagine their whole world is flipped for them. They don't understand, well, why aren't you doing the thing? My God, am I stuck in this crate forever? I've never been in a crate longer than I wanted to be, or I've never been in a tub longer than I've wanted to be. And so they start becoming really anxious, and that's not really their fault. Let's take a moment here too, because I think sometimes we're like, "Oh my God, this dog, would you just knock it off?" Sure, if that worked, then we wouldn't have dog training. It's not really their fault. They really don't understand your rules. So they're living in a system where, hey, I request and you follow my request. And somebody's always home, especially during COVID, which is why we're seeing this a lot more. Someone was always home. So maybe it's a matter of going to the next person. Maybe it's a matter of everyone in the house doesn't realize how often this dog is just roaming around and finding who will do what they need them to do for them. Wow, that was quite a run-on sentence, but I'm going to leave it in there. But maybe they go to mom first. Mom's a little bit busy, so they just wander into the next room and they ask one of the kids. And the kid's like, yeah, sure, I'll go let you out. Or, let's get some cookies. I want a snack too. Oh, sorry, I got to take a break. My dog needs me, because a dog can be a great excuse to take a break. A great excuse. So it's not really the dog's fault. They live in an atmosphere where this is just normal. And before we blame owners, I also want to say that owners may not understand why this is a problem. What seems very, very obvious when a dog is outside of their home is not very obvious when they're inside their home. Their interactions with their dogs at home may be exactly what they like. They may have never considered the downside. They may have never even thought of the fact that this dog isn't learning how to patiently wait for anything. Because maybe they actually ask for like a sit, and they're like, sit, and they have them stare at something for a minute and say, okay, now you can have it. Yeah, that's not really teaching patience. That's not really teaching a dog that, like, listen, I don't have time for you right now. Can you calm down? Can you go off and chew on a toy? These are very different skills. So they live with this dog, and they're also mutually happy. The dog's probably pretty happy, the owner's pretty happy, and they've never pushed the dog to wait or get used to some disappointment. So when they hear that their dog was having problems in the grooming atmosphere, they're shocked. What? I mean, sure, he barks, but all we have to do is just drop everything for your dog, Because that can't happen. That can't happen all day. Or they think, well, but he settles right down. He settles right down. If you take him out of the crate, he'll be fine. Or if you just stop and you pet him, and that's a beautiful idea. And we can make time for that if we know ahead of time that a dog has some issues that are going to need to be worked on. And if an owner lets go of the idea that this dog is coming in for a perfect haircut. That's why we need to have our safety policy in place. That includes things like overly silly, stressed out, not just aggressive. Because we need to be able to tell owners, hey, your dog was having a really hard time. So yes, I can take him out of the crate, and yes, I can pet him a little bit, and I can try to calm him down, and I tried many, many times to calm him down. And your dog isn't well prepared for our services. Let's talk about what happens at home. Are you responding every single time your dog barks? Because so many of them do. And they're like, well, I mean, yeah, he's trying to tell me he needs something. I know, it seems obvious when I word it that way. When I word it that way to my human customers, they're like, oh, right. Yeah, if I always, always, always jump when he says, hey, can you do a, and I'm like, yeah, sure, Sparky, that's great. How am I teaching him to cope in a different setting? And in a challenging setting, the grooming setting is challenging. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. Now, the other side of spoiled dogs is that we often talk about a dog being spoiled because the dog doesn't understand the word no. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that I really don't use the word no. And I'm going to get into that right now, because every cue that we teach a dog should follow the rules of the Simon Says game. Do you guys remember Simon Says? Group of kids standing around, one person is trying to get them to do stuff. Simon says, raise your hand. Simon says, raise your foot. Simon says, clap your hands. Stomp your feet. If you don't say Simon Says, anybody who did it without hearing Simon Says is out. Okay? How does this relate to dog training? So if we are giving a cue to a dog, it should be something they can follow the rules of. So if I told a group of people, Simon Says no, what does that mean? Stop what I'm doing right now? Don't listen to this podcast? Don't be sitting on the sofa? Whatever you're doing right now, now you have to figure out through mind reading what no means. So no is not a very good cue. And so a lot of us don't really teach the word no. I know, it sounds crazy. And as an owner of a dog named Poe, I'm glad I don't use no a whole lot. because that would become very, very confusing at our house. So when you think about this idea that they haven't really taught this dog the word no, we should be able to tell him no, and he should know what to do and knock it off. Now, the rules of Simon Says. If I told you, Simon Says, Igglyplats, can you do it? Probably not, because I haven't yet let you in on what Igglyplats means. Igglyplats, what a dumb word, I know. And I made that word for my human customers. And I say human customers because I have dog customers and human customers. I made that word for my human customers for them to realize it. Now, what if I, as the one who's running the game, I'm convinced that you know what Igglyplats means. I have seen you Igglyplats, and maybe it means fold your arms. Now I think you're defiant. Ugh. You just don't want to. You're being stubborn. So, not a very good cue. If the subject, in this case people, don't know what the cue means, they can't do it. If the subject, in this case people, don't know what no is referring to, they can't do it. So if every cue follows the rules of Simon Says, we would be clear. And clarity is important in dog training. And that's where these cues come in. So instead of saying no, I might say hush. Because I taught hush. My dogs know what hush means. It's different than quit it. We have to have words that mean something. And hush gets taught when they're not barking. What? But doesn't hush mean not barking? Yeah, it means being quiet. It doesn't mean stop barking. They don't need to bark before I tell them hush. I know, weird thoughts. Think about that. We're getting further into training on this one. But so many owners use the word no in a way that's different from what groomers or vets or the dog walker might use the word no for. And a dog is going to adapt to whatever they hear it most. So if you say no because a dog jumps, they're going to think that means, oh, it's the jumping thing. They're going to look at you and they're in the trash and you say no. They're like, what? I'm not jumping. I'm in the trash. It's a super common problem. So as groomers, when we're like, hey, no, knock it off. Oh my God, this dog is so spoiled. Might not be that the dog is so spoiled. It might be that we're asking for things this dog simply doesn't know. And maybe they actually do know a lot of words, but we're not using any of them. Sometimes it falls back on us. Hey, what does your dog know? And that's part of why we ask people, what kind of history can you give me about your dog? How is he for grooming? What kind of things do you guys do? Because maybe they have something that they use. Because I'll tell you what, someone telling my dogs no, they're only going to respond to the tone of voice. It's not really something they hear a lot at home. And that doesn't mean I'm lenient or indulgent. I feel like I run a pretty tight ship. It means that I'm going to tell them specifically what I want them to be doing. 4 on the floor. That means get your 4 feet on the floor. Might be get off of the couch. It might be don't jump on that person. There are lots of ways that we use training. And so sometimes our owners are using words that maybe you're not familiar with. Maybe they're training this dog in a different language. Maybe it would be worthwhile to ask someone who comes in with a strong accent, does your dog know any of the training words in English? And if not, can you help me with the words that you're using in French? How can I sound like you and ask your dog to do things that you've taught them to do, if they've taught them? Now, I'm also going to jump in here as a second part of this part. I'm also going to say I'm not against spoiling dogs. I actually like my customers who spoil their dogs. Because, you know what, they're bond with their dogs and they are so into their dogs and their dogs are really into them. These dogs know how to read people. They know how to communicate. They get worked with an awful lot, maybe not constructively. So when I see an owner who spoils their dog, who's like, oh, you know what, he didn't like that food, so what we did was I cooked him up some swordfish. Literally, that was one of my customers. We found out that he loved swordfish, so we'll give him swordfish anytime he's kind of feeling a little cranky about his food because it's really important that he eats. You know, these customers are wonderful. They're so into their dog, and I can work with that. If I can help them understand, hey, it's really important for your dog's comfort and safety to feel like this is safe, and how we're going to work in the grooming and shop and how we're going to be in a crate once in a while, or we need to adjust our scheduling and you can't have a Saturday because your dog can't be in a crate. You know, we are willing to accommodate you and your dog's needs, but this is what your dog needs to have a safe and stress-free day for grooming for their lifetime. Your dog has grooming needs that will last a lifetime, and this is how we're going to help them. The owners who spoil their dogs respond really well to, this is what we need to do to help your dog. This is what we need to do to keep grooming stress-free, and how we can help your dog feel safe and help your dog get a nice safe trim and a nice safe bath. These customers can be reasoned with. And they are wonderful. And they're often the ones who don't care if they have to pay more. They're like, well, I want my dog to be happy. That's what the overindulgent owner does. They want their dogs to be happy. They're like, oh, buddy, I got you to have fun with you. I want you to be happy. And I'll work with that all day. All day. You just need to understand that customer and know where they're coming from. We're going to stop shaming and blaming. We just need to educate. Educate them. Tell them, wow, your dog has a really hard time with this because as soon as he barks, he cannot imagine a world where no one responds to him. And much like little kids in their first experience in a classroom, it can be very weird. What? I can't just run around the room and do what I want, and the teacher's not just here for me? Not just here for you. So talking to owners, if you feel like their dogs are given everything they ever want, are unprepared for stress, don't understand how to be in a crate, don't understand how to be left alone, don't understand that not every request is going to be fulfilled, right? These are owners that we can talk to and guide. And if we think the dogs aren't trying to just mess with our day, they're having a hard time because they're living in an entirely different set of rules than what we may be used to. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.